What if I told you that nature has already written the prescription your body's been waiting for? Not in a laboratory, not in a pharmacy, but in the soil, in the forests, in the gardens that your great-grandparents tended without thinking twice. The plants I'm about to show you aren't just remedies. They're the forgotten architects of human resilience. Plants that have quietly healed civilizations for thousands of years. Plants that modern science is only now catching up to understand. Today, I'm going to reveal 15 medicinal plants that work at a level so fundamental, so biological, that they'll change the way you think about healing entirely. Plants you can cultivate in your backyard, forage from wild spaces, purchase at any health store, or begin using today. Plants that will restore balance to systems in your body you didn't even know were breaking down. Stick around, because number 7 on this list was the secret weapon of ancient healers who treated everything from inflammation to exhaustion, and recent clinical studies just proved exactly why it works. And number 14 is a forgotten root that practically nobody in America grows anymore, but gram for gram, it outperforms modern anti-inflammatory medications in preliminary research. That's right. Hit that subscribe button now, because we release new videos every single week, reconnecting you with the biological intelligence your ancestors possessed instinctively. Let's begin. Here are 15 medicinal plants that will heal you instantly, ranked from powerful to absolutely transformative. Number 1. Ginger root. The ancient inflammation eraser. Ginger wasn't merely a spice in ancient kitchens. It was a respected healer, a trusted remedy that moved through civilizations as a plant of genuine power. In early healing traditions across Asia and the Middle East, ginger was prescribed for pain, for stagnation, for the body's cry for movement and relief. Ancient healers understood something fundamental about this root. It didn't just mask symptoms, it addressed the actual mechanics of suffering. In traditional medicine systems, ginger was consumed as a daily tonic for those recovering from injury, illness, and chronic exhaustion. Modern science is now discovering that ginger contains powerful compounds called gingerols and shogals that directly suppress inflammatory molecules in your body. This is where things get interesting, because research shows these compounds work at the cellular level, blocking the exact same pathways that modern pain medications target. But here's what most people don't realize. Ginger works differently than drugs. It doesn't numb sensation. It actually reduces the inflammation causing the sensation. This means your body heals while you use it, not just feels better temporarily. The result is a bridge between ancient empirical knowledge and modern molecular biology. Ginger proves that what healers discovered through observation was rooted in genuine biochemistry. But the next plant reveals an even more dramatic healing transformation. Number 2. Turmeric, the golden cellular rebuilder. Turmeric has been revered for over 4,000 years as something more than food. It was seen as a golden healer, a plant that could restore the body's internal architecture when systems began to fail. In ancient Ayurvedic traditions, turmeric was prescribed for everything from joint pain to digestive restoration. Early healers believed this golden root carried the power to rebuild tissue and restore cellular vitality from within. It wasn't treated as medicine. It was treated as preventive wisdom, consumed daily in meals for lifelong resilience. Modern science is now discovering that turmeric's primary compound, curcumin, is one of the most studied anti-inflammatory substances on Earth. This is where things get interesting, because curcumin doesn't just reduce inflammation, it activates your body's own antioxidant defense systems at a genetic level. Research shows it supports joint health, cognitive function, and cardiovascular protection simultaneously. But here's what most people don't realize. Turmeric works slowly and systematically, rebuilding your body's defenses rather than providing quick relief. This is why ancient cultures consumed it daily for decades. They understood that healing isn't a moment, it's a practice. The combination of turmeric and black pepper multiplies its effectiveness, something traditional healers knew for centuries before absorption science existed. But the next plant reveals an even deeper cellular secret. Number 3. Garlic, the ancient immune fortress. Garlic was never just a flavoring in ancient meals. It was a warrior's food, a healer's remedy, a plant that early civilizations trusted to keep their bodies strong against infection and weakness.
In ancient Egypt, garlic was so valued that workers building the pyramids were given daily rations to maintain strength and prevent illness. In traditional Chinese medicine, garlic was prescribed to cleanse the blood and rebuild immunity after periods of weakness. Ancient healers across cultures recognized something profound about this plant. It carried protective intelligence. Modern science is now discovering that garlic contains allicin and other sulfur compounds that directly activate immune cells in your body. This is where things get interesting, because research shows these compounds enhance your white blood cell function, boost natural killer cell activity, and support your body's ability to respond to pathogens. But here's what most people don't realize. Fresh garlic is exponentially more powerful than aged or cooked garlic because the active compounds degrade with heat and time. Ancient healers who consumed fresh garlic weren't just following tradition, they were optimizing biochemical impact. When you crush fresh garlic, you activate the very compounds that modern labs are now isolating and studying. The next plant reveals an even more surprising immune secret. Number 4. Echinacea, the forgotten immune amplifier. Echinacea was once a central plant in Native American healing traditions, used for centuries to support the body's natural defenses during times of infection and weakness. Early healers understood that this plant worked differently than other remedies. It seemed to wake something up inside the body, activating its own healing power.
In traditional practice, echinacea was consumed at the first sign of immune system stress, with the belief that early intervention prevented serious illness from taking root. Ancient practitioners valued it not as a cure, but as a catalyst for the body's own intelligence. Modern science is now discovering that echinacea contains polysaccharides and alkamides that stimulate immune cell production and enhance white blood cell function. This is where things get interesting, because clinical studies show it reduces the duration of immune challenges by significant margins when taken consistently. Research also shows it supports natural inflammation response and helps your body recover faster from systemic stress. But here's what most people don't realize. Echinacea works best as a preventive tonic, not an emergency remedy. The ancient practice of consuming it regularly throughout vulnerable seasons aligns perfectly with how modern immunology suggests it works best. Traditionally, it was brewed fresh or consumed as a tincture for ongoing immune support. The next plant reveals an even deeper layer of immune wisdom. Number 5. Licorice root, the healing balancer. Licorice root was treasured across ancient healing systems as a plant of gentle but profound balance. In traditional Chinese medicine, it was called the Great Harmonizer because it seemed to help every other remedy work better. Early healers in the Middle East and Mediterranean used licorice root to soothe the digestive system, to ease inflammation, and to support the body's recovery from stress and exhaustion. It was consumed as a daily tonic by those seeking sustained vitality and internal peace. Ancient practitioners understood that this root worked at a regulatory level, helping the body find its natural equilibrium. Modern science is now discovering that licorice root contains compounds called flavonoids that support both immune function and digestive health. This is where things get interesting, because research shows licorice root helps regulate cortisol levels, meaning it supports your body's natural stress response without suppressing it artificially. Studies also link it to improved gut barrier function and reduced intestinal inflammation. But here's what most people don't realize. Licorice root shouldn't be used indefinitely without guidance, but when used appropriately, it's one of the most comprehensive healing plants available. Traditionally, it was decocted in water or combined with other herbs for maximum synergistic effect. The next discovery reveals an even more powerful digestive secret. Number 6. Slippery elm, the gut wall rebuilder. Slippery elm was once a cornerstone of North American healing traditions, used by indigenous healers to restore the digestive system after damage or prolonged inflammation. The inner bark of this tree contains mucilage, a substance that coats and protects irritated tissue, while simultaneously delivering healing compounds directly where they're needed. Early healers understood intuitively, what modern science now confirms, that much chronic illness originates in a damaged gut barrier. In traditional practice, slippery elm was consumed as a gentle infusion or mixed into healing broths for those recovering from digestive distress or inflammatory conditions. Ancient practitioners valued it because it didn't just soothe symptoms, it literally rebuilt the physical structures that protect your intestinal system. Modern science is now discovering that the mucilage in slippery elm physically protects gut lining, while its compounds promote the growth of beneficial bacteria and support tissue regeneration. This is where things get interesting, because a damaged gut barrier is now understood as a root cause of autoimmune conditions, food sensitivities, and chronic inflammation throughout the body. Supporting gut health is supporting everything. But here's what most people don't realize. Slippery elm works slowly and gently, rebuilding your intestinal wall layer by layer, which is why ancient healers used it consistently over weeks and months, not days. Traditionally, it was powdered and mixed with warm water to create a healing potion. The next plant reveals an even deeper digestive transformation. Number 7, marshmallow root, the inflammation soother. Marshmallow root has been used in healing traditions for thousands of years as one of the most effective plant remedies for inflammation of the digestive tract and respiratory system. In ancient Greek and Roman medicine, marshmallow was prescribed for conditions ranging from coughs to intestinal irritation. Medieval healers relied on it as a foundational remedy for anyone suffering from chronic inflammation. The name itself reveals how healers understood its function: marshmallow, softening and soothing everything it touches.
In traditional practice, the root was decocted slowly, releasing its mucilaginous compounds into water, creating a soothing liquid that coated and healed inflamed tissues. Ancient practitioners understood that this plant worked at a protective level, creating a barrier while inflammation naturally resolved. Modern science is now discovering that marshmallow root contains polysaccharides that coat irritated tissues and also contains compounds that directly reduce inflammatory signals in the body. This is where things get interesting, because recent research shows marshmallow root is as effective as many pharmaceutical options for soothing respiratory inflammation, while actually supporting tissue healing rather than merely masking symptoms. It also supports the immune system's ability to resolve inflammation naturally. But here's what most people don't realize. Marshmallow root works best when given time. This is a plant that asks you to slow down and let nature rebuild you gradually, something ancient healers understood as essential to true healing. Traditionally, it was decocted overnight and consumed warm throughout the day. The next plant reveals an even more powerful healing secret. Number 8, thyme, the respiratory restorer. Thyme was once considered a sacred herb of healing, used in temples and healing spaces across ancient cultures as both a medicine and a spiritual cleanser. In ancient Greece, thyme was burned in temples to purify the air and enhance mental clarity. But far more importantly, it was consumed as a remedy for respiratory conditions, for coughs that wouldn't resolve, for the body's struggle to breathe freely.
In traditional European healing systems, thyme was considered essential for respiratory health and was included in every healer's collection of vital remedies. Ancient practitioners understood that this small herb carried surprising power. It seemed to help the body's airways open and clear naturally. Modern science is now discovering that thyme contains carvacrol and thymol, compounds that directly reduce mucus production while supporting your body's natural ability to clear airways. This is where things get interesting, because thyme also contains compounds that suppress cough reflex in a way that's different from pharmaceutical suppressants. It actually helps your body stop coughing by addressing the underlying irritation. Research shows it supports bronchial health and respiratory function at multiple biological levels. But here's what most people don't realize. Thyme works best as a preventative measure and early intervention, which is why traditional healers used it consistently during seasons when respiratory challenges commonly arise. Traditionally, it was brewed as a tea or infused into honey for a healing elixir. The next discovery reveals an even deeper respiratory secret. Number 9, oregano, the antimicrobial powerhouse. Oregano has been valued for thousands of years as far more than a culinary herb. It was a medicine plant, used in healing traditions across the Mediterranean as one of the most powerful antimicrobial remedies available in nature. In ancient Greece and Rome, oregano was prescribed for infections, for digestive disturbances, for any condition where the body needed powerful antimicrobial support.
Early healers understood something remarkable about this plant. It worked against pathogens without the side effects that other stronger remedies created. In traditional practice, oregano was consumed as a tea, infused into oils, or applied directly to affected areas for both internal and external healing. Ancient practitioners valued it because it seemed to help the body clear infections while simultaneously supporting immune function. Modern science is now discovering that oregano essential oil contains carvacrol, which demonstrates powerful antimicrobial properties against bacteria, fungi, and even some viruses at concentrations that are remarkably safe for human consumption. This is where things get interesting, because oregano doesn't just kill pathogens, it enhances your body's own immune response, meaning you're not relying entirely on the herb's antimicrobial power, but on your body's amplified defenses. Research shows it supports digestive health, respiratory function, and overall pathogenic resistance. But here's what most people don't realize. Fresh oregano is exponentially more powerful than dried, and oregano oil is concentrated to levels that require proper guidance for use. Traditionally, it was consumed as a daily culinary herb for ongoing protection. The next plant reveals an even more transformative healing secret. Number 10. Sage, the memory and throat healer. Sage was sacred to ancient healers, who believed this herb carried the wisdom of clarity and protection. In medieval healing traditions, sage was burned as a purifying smoke and consumed as a remedy for sore throats, memory loss, and the mind's struggle to remain sharp. Ancient practitioners across cultures understood that sage worked at multiple levels, supporting the throat, the mind, and the body's defenses simultaneously. Early healers prescribed it for elders struggling with mental clarity, for speakers needing vocal endurance, for anyone seeking to maintain cognitive sharpness through the aging process. In traditional practice, sage was brewed as a gargle for throat conditions and consumed as a tea for long-term cognitive support. Modern science is now discovering that sage contains compounds called salvionolic acids that cross the blood-brain barrier and support cognitive function at a neurological level. This is where things get interesting, because research shows sage may support memory formation, slow cognitive decline, and enhance mental clarity in ways that are just beginning to be understood. Sage also contains compounds that reduce throat inflammation and support vocal health. But here's what most people don't realize. Sage works slowly and subtly on the brain, which is why ancient healers used it consistently over years, not expecting immediate transformation, but trusting in gradual cognitive restoration. Traditionally, it was consumed daily as a tea or used as a gargle for acute throat conditions. The next plant reveals an even deeper layer of healing wisdom. Number 11. Astragalus, the endurance root. Astragalus has been treasured in traditional Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years as one of the most powerful plants for building deep vitality and sustained strength. Early healers understood that this root worked at a foundational level, building the body's resilience from within rather than providing quick relief. In traditional practice, astragalus was prescribed to people recovering from serious illness, to those weakened by chronic conditions, to anyone needing to rebuild their body's fundamental capacity to heal. It was considered a longevity herb, consumed by those seeking to maintain health and vitality throughout a long life. Ancient practitioners valued it because consistent use seemed to fundamentally shift how the body responded to stress and illness. Modern science is now discovering that astragalus contains polysaccharides that enhance immune function at the deepest levels, including support for your body's natural defense cells. This is where things get interesting, because research shows astragalus may support the length and integrity of telomeres, the genetic structures related to cellular aging and longevity. Studies also show it helps your body recover faster from infections and supports energy production at the mitochondria level. But here's what most people don't realize. Astragalus is a slow-working plant that asks for commitment and consistency, which is why ancient cultures used it as a dietary staple rather than a quick remedy. Results accumulate over weeks and months, not days. Traditionally, it was decocted in broths and consumed regularly for sustained benefit. The next discovery reveals an even more powerful transformation secret. Number 12. Ashwagandha, the stress-mastering adaptogen. Ashwagandha has been called the queen of adaptogenic plants in traditional Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years.
This herb was prescribed for stress, for anxiety, for the body's cry for balance in a world of constant pressure. Early healers understood that ashwagandha worked at a regulatory level, helping the body adapt to stress without being overwhelmed by it. In traditional practice, ashwagandha was consumed daily as a powder mixed into warm milk, as a foundational support for anyone seeking mental clarity and emotional stability. Ancient practitioners valued it because it seemed to help the nervous system find equilibrium, not suppressing stress response, but helping it function optimally. Modern science is now discovering that ashwagandha contains withanolides that directly support your body's cortisol regulation and stress response systems. This is where things get interesting, because research shows ashwagandha may reduce anxiety levels comparable to pharmaceutical options, while simultaneously supporting cognitive function, sleep quality, and hormonal balance. It also supports muscle recovery and athletic performance in ways that surprised researchers. But here's what most people don't realize. Ashwagandha works best when taken consistently, as its benefits compound over weeks of use rather than appearing immediately. The ancient practice of consuming it daily aligned perfectly with how modern pharmacology shows it works most effectively. Traditionally, it was mixed with spices and warm milk for both palatability and enhanced absorption. The next plant reveals an even deeper healing secret. Number 13, rhodiola, the energy and mood elevator. Rhodiola has been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years as a powerful plant for supporting energy, mood, and the body's resilience against exhaustion.
In Scandinavian and Eastern European traditions, rhodiola was prescribed for fatigue, for depression, for the depletion that comes from physical and emotional stress. Early healers understood something fundamental about this root. It didn't just provide stimulation like other energy plants. It actually restored the body's capacity to generate sustained energy. In traditional practice, rhodiola was consumed by workers facing long seasons of demanding labor, by those recovering from serious illness, by anyone needing to rebuild their body's resilience and vitality. Ancient practitioners valued it because it seemed to help the body function optimally under stress, without the crash that came from stimulants. Modern science is now discovering that rhodiola contains compounds called rosavins that support your brain's neurotransmitter balance, enhancing mood while simultaneously supporting energy production. This is where things get interesting, because research shows rhodiola may reduce fatigue, improve mood, enhance cognitive function, and support athletic performance, all without the side effects or crashes associated with stimulant drugs. It also helps regulate serotonin and dopamine naturally. But here's what most people don't realize. Rhodiola works best in the morning, as evening consumption can overstimulate some people, something traditional healers intuitively understood through observation. Consistently used, it builds resilience and energy over weeks rather than providing quick fixes. The next plant reveals an even more transformative healing truth. Number 14, burdock root, the deep detoxifier. Burdock root was once central to healing traditions across Asia, Europe, and North America as one of the most comprehensive detoxifying plants available in nature. In traditional Chinese medicine, burdock was prescribed as a blood purifier, a plant that helped the body eliminate accumulated toxins and restore clarity. Early healers understood that this root worked at a systematic level, supporting the body's natural elimination pathways over time. In traditional practice, burdock was decocted into broths and consumed regularly by those seeking to clear chronic conditions, by those recovering from prolonged illness, by anyone needing comprehensive internal cleansing. Ancient practitioners valued it because consistent use seemed to fundamentally shift the body's capacity to heal. Conditions that had persisted for years would gradually resolve. Modern science is now discovering that burdock root contains compounds that support liver function, kidney filtration, and lymphatic system movement. This is where things get interesting, because research shows burdock root may enhance the body's natural detoxification processes while simultaneously providing antioxidant support. It also contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial bacteria and restores gut microbiome health. But here's what most people don't realize. Burdock works slowly and systematically, and as it helps your body clear accumulated toxins, some people experience temporary detoxification symptoms that ancient healers called healing crisis. Understanding this is key to staying consistent with the plant. Traditionally, it was decocted overnight and consumed daily over weeks and months. The next plant reveals an even deeper layer of healing wisdom. Number 15, Tulsi, holy basil, the consciousness healer.
Tulsi, known as holy basil, has been revered for over 5,000 years in Indian healing traditions as a sacred plant that heals not just the body, but the mind and spirit simultaneously. In Ayurvedic medicine, Tulsi was prescribed as one of the most comprehensive adaptogenic plants available, supporting every system of the body while simultaneously elevating consciousness and mental clarity. Early healers understood that Tulsi worked at multiple biological levels, while also creating a spiritual shift in those who consumed it regularly.
In traditional practice, tulsi was grown in sacred spaces, brewed as a daily tea, and revered as a plant that helped people access higher states of mental functioning and emotional stability. Ancient practitioners valued it because it seemed to help the body, mind, and spirit move toward balance simultaneously. Modern science is now discovering that tulsi contains eugenol and other compounds that support immune function, reduce inflammation, and regulate cortisol levels. This is where things get interesting because research shows tulsi may enhance cognitive function, reduce anxiety, improve sleep quality, and support memory formation, all while providing antioxidant and antimicrobial protection. It also seems to support metabolic health and blood sugar regulation. But here's what most people don't realize. Tulsi is unique among medicinal plants because it seems to work at psychological and physiological levels simultaneously, which is why ancient cultures treated it as sacred. Regular consumption creates a gradual shift in how you experience stress, how clearly you think, and how balanced you feel emotionally.
It was consumed as a sacred daily tea, a ritual more than a remedy. This is where the healing truly begins. These 15 plants are waiting for you. Some grow in your backyard. Some wait in forests near your home. All of them contain centuries of healing intelligence encoded at a molecular level. Hit that subscribe button because next week we're revealing the 5 most powerful plant combinations that ancient healers used to address specific conditions, combinations that modern science is just beginning to understand. Comment below which of these plants shocked you the most, and if you've already experienced healing with any of these, share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else discover the healing they've been searching for. The wisdom of your ancestors is calling. Are you ready to listen?